Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, can hear you loud and clear on this Friday of doom.
Yes, it
If you
was.
were long.
Yeah, what a red Friday it was in the markets. Looks like we look good, sound good. So welcome everyone. Happy Friday. What's up, Coach Vince? What's up, Coach Hoop? And to all of our traders here, welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6. And that is Coach Paul. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Coach Paul.
Hey, and I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in trading futures for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experiences, maybe wisdom, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that. And you are all our audience, our chat. Thank you for being here today. And happy Friday. Hopefully, everybody had a good day to end your week or a good week. Let us know in the chat how you did today to end the week. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Maybe you stayed flat on the day. There was a ton of movement out there, ton of movement in a bunch of different markets. Like we've been saying, markets presenting opportunity. But we know with that comes opportunity for loss as well in these markets. So, just be aware, manage our risk, and that is what we can do. We end every session with trade well, manage your risk. So hopefully that is what we did this week as well. Westy says, great day and week. Starwood, today was a tough day, right? And that is the dichotomy of the markets, Coach. Well, somebody's having a good day, somebody's having a bad one. So, as long as you manage your risk, there is always another day to trade.
It's a zero-sum game.
Yes, it is. Shout out to any of the traders that we have that might be in Thailand. We know there was news of an earthquake. I saw one of our traders saying they have a ton of friends in Thailand, and just thinking about them and the Topstep TV show kind of helped them get through the day. So hopefully everyone is safe wherever you are at in the world. And again, we thank you for joining us here today, Coach. Let's look at this news real quick. We did have some numbers come out today. US PCE price index year over year came in at 2.5%. Forecast was 2.5%. We had a Canadian GDP number come out as well at 0.4%. Forecast was 0.3. Core PCE came in at 2.8%. Forecast was 2.7. That's year over year. And consumer spending at 0.4%. Forecast was 0.5. So consumer spending a little bit less potentially. We also had the University of Michigan sentiment final number that came in at 57. Forecast was 57.9. Not a huge miss, but that Michigan sentiment number, the past 4 prints now have been, a market mover. I think last time we saw it come out pretty bad, we saw an adverse, response in the market. The number came out bad. You thought it was going to sell off. It did real quick, and then we popped back up. But today, that number came out bad again, and the markets showed it. Whether or not you want to look at that sentiment number as an indicator of what the market is going to do, that's up to you to use that in your process. But we can see it here. The market sold off today. Anything else you got in the news, Coach? Any other headlines that might have come across your plate today?
No, but the overall feeling, is contraction.
Yep.
There misses, maybe not by a lot, but over a broader spectrum. On top of tariffs. So the news is reflecting, I think, what stocks are doing. And what can you do? Well, you can get short stocks, I guess. So let's get down to it, sir.
Awesome stuff. We do know that there's, some major stuff as far as tariffs go next week. I think April 2nd is the day everyone is looking at. That is next week. Tomorrow, Monday is March 31st, last trading day of the month and the quarter. Looking at financial juice up on the side over here, see comments from the president. I am willing to make deals on auto tariffs. So the date may be April 2nd until it's not. Let's take a look at the quote board. There are 35 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts. And today to the downside, we had the Nikkei down 2.87%, the NASDAQ down 2.94%, and continuing to sell off right now, just traded below 19,400. And micro Bitcoin futures down 3.81% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had the Ultra Bonds up 1.62%, soybean oil up 2.1%, and natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, at 4.28%. I think Nat Gas heard me yesterday say I haven't looked at it in a little while. I said, oh, yeah. Let me show you something.
Doubt me, will you?
Right. To talk about our big four, we had crude oil down 1.09%, the S&P down 2.2%, gold making another new all-time high. Do remember that if you're seeing gold trade above 3,100, we did roll over to the June contract in gold. So new prices, but we did make new all-time highs in gold. All-time high currently is going to be, let's get that price for you. New all-time high on this gold contract is 31.2440. 31.2440 new all-time highs in gold.
And that's the June gold.
That is June gold, correct. The NASDAQ, we already talked about, down 2.94% to round out our big four. Let's go over to a NASDAQ chart. I'm out here on a daily, coach. Maybe we look at a weekly because it is the end of the week. What are we seeing on this weekly chart, Coach Paul?
Continuation to the downside. We talked about it. It's interesting is that 50 bar moving average on the weekly. Is that the weekly? The daily, I'm sorry.
This is the weekly.
Yeah, the weekly. Wow. That's not a good looking chart. Very heavy. We're finishing at the lows. Like as we're talking, we're making new lows.
Yeah, we're still selling.
Of the week, at the lows of the move. That is, I don't know, but maybe I have like I said, a flair for the obvious, but continuation. This is beginning to feel a lot like 07, 08.
Interesting.
There is no bids here.
There's not a bid in this market right now.
What I mean by that, to be more specific, is the rallies are more short covering rallies. They're not, first of all, time. One of the things we look at this, what week did, in a time reference, since the high, what week have we had a buying week? One, I think that was last week. If we can barely, even then.
Yeah. So last week, remember what last week was, right? We talked about it. This was rollover week, right? So this was not a directional move. This was, hey, let's get out of those contracts. And we talked about this, coach. As soon as we get out of rollover, where we saw that rollover consolidation, a bunch of inside days, we'll go down to a daily chart. As soon as that roll is finished, do we get directional again? And the direction was to the downside prior to rollover. And this just looks like continuation.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday too on the 20-day moving average. What's the high today?
Right below it. So 20-day moving average was right at 20,072. High of the day today was 20,011.75. So
this was a big on my daily levels. I have a first support, second support, third support, average true range support. It broke and settled through every one of them. And that's what I mean by there's no bids here. It's liquidation. As we looked on the daily, we've seen it on the weekly. Let's see how we traded beginning last night.
Let's take a look at it. We'll go down to a shorter time frame. I'm on a 30-minute chart here. We are under the 200 moving average. We got under there yesterday, and using the 20 and the 50 really as resistance right now. Here is last night's open. Made the high on the open pretty much and did not trade above this high from that point. Sellers are in control of this market. Talked to some of my VIPs today, coach, and some of the traders are saying they're having tough times when the markets just continue to sell off. And it makes sense, right? Where this is we say it all the time. You hear people say it, markets are meant to go up, the equities just go up, buy the dip, right? These kind of common phrases, and that's just not what we're seeing right now. If I flip this chart over,
Yes.
we would be talking about, oh, we're gonna
New
break this high
contract
and
guys.
break out. Correct. I had to flip the chart over to see it that way, right? Because no one would be talking about, oh, this is a resistance, we're gonna sell off. When do we break out here and hold above it? Now, the one thing is the equity markets are meant to continue going up, right? And there's always money coming into it, but where is that money coming in? They haven't done it yet. We've been talking about, a month and a half now. There are no bids coming into this market to hold them up. We're seeing, Mag 7 get continuously beat up. So if you're trying to, buy the dip on some of these moves, just understand that they're counter trend. I took a long today, and we'll explain when we get down to a shorter time frame exactly what that long was based on. But I was looking for 50 points in the NASDAQ and nothing more, because, on a day time frame, it's really sell every rally right now, Coach. We opened up, traded slightly above that 20,000 major psych level, super psych level, no buyers above, and just sell it the rest of the day.
Well, I just mentioned a word called levels, and levels are based just on price. I learned a long time ago, price alone does not define a market state. Price, volume, and time do. We just mentioned how much time, which time is from left to right, doesn't go backwards. Let's look at that chart and see how much time there was buying in this market. So
It's two and a half hours right there. Another half an hour right here. it's
so
it's it,
I went through some old lessons from my mentor, Mr. Peter Stottlemyre, and he really, I forget, it's time is a very large variant in determining market direction. It might seem obvious, but when we get down to it, we start looking just at price. So this market was speeding up as it went down. Well, because that's liquidation. The buyers, market makers, whoever, but short covering, they weren't able to hold the price for more than 10 minutes. And guess what? There was more selling. So when I see something like today, and if you were struggling, like, wow, there was a price level. I'm not criticizing you. I'm not. Start looking at time and volume. It gets to a point, and we talk about a J trade, is you have to have some capitulation. You have to have exhaustion. So I looked all day on that 3-minute chart, and I did not see any exhaustion.
it didn't happen once. It was consistent continuation volume to the downside pretty much right off the open. The opening, first half an hour or so, which makes a lot of sense. We have that Michigan sentiment number coming out half hour into the open. So if you look at this open here from a price perspective, you could say, oh yeah, maybe this is a potential to buy it. We had these overnight lows where we checked down there in the first 6 minutes and we bounced up from there. It's a nice trade here. That's a 100-point bounce, right? So not to say that there aren't long opportunities, but think about, and if we look at the session open, the New York session open, let me go to so here, I'm going to do a couple things here. We're going to mark off this overnight low with a price level, 19,847. We'll make that a white line. From a price perspective, we go regular trading hour charts only. And we'll look at it from a price perspective. That's a nice level to take, right? We had the overnight low. We bounced off of it. We know Michigan sentiment's coming out. And from the time the New York session opened, the market's in a range, right? So Are we going to get directional before that sentiment number comes out? Probably not, unless somebody got the number early. So this is a nice trade from a level perspective, but the flow, coach, never continued to that upside, right? Price went, tried to test this overnight gap. We, you know, couldn't get more than 50% of that gap. And then the number comes out, right? The number that everybody's waiting for. And, here is that Michigan sentiment candle. And from that point, it's like, okay, yep, we can continue what we were doing.
Yeah, it was, and here, let's remove that bar again.
Which
Or the
bar?
candles. Let's just remove the candles. There's the opening. There's VWAP. That's all I got to say there.
Yep.
Let's put them back.
Give me 1 second. Greg B, you said, how do you identify exhaustion? We'll take a look. We'll try to find an example, but I'm going to be honest with you, there was not an example in the equities today. So we'll have to try to find, I think there was an example in gold actually, because there wasn't any buy side exhaustion either. So most of my day, coach, and I know you said you took it as well, you took the shorts and kind of just rode them the entire way down. One thing I do want to point out, and every time we kind of get down towards some of these levels, when we are when we're seeing these big percentage down days, something I want to suggest people to look at, and I call them out, during fast markets all the time. When the markets get down 2%, the only long I took today, Coach Paul, was with 2 micros long, and I was calling it out from the time the NASDAQ was about 1.5% down. Say, hey, just pay attention to that 2% level, where sometimes in the NASDAQ we see a bounce off that 2% level. That level, and I'm measuring it from settlement. Settlement was at 19,990. 2% down from that was 19,590. So 20-point risk, coach, because I didn't want to pay a whole lot if this just sold right through it. 20-point risk, 2 micros at 19,590. And again, this is just a trade. I think this is a great example of, you don't have to get the market direction right in order to make money for the day. You just have to trade in the right places. Long from here, 3-point drawdown on the trade. But I think what was really important after that, coach, was I'm only looking for 50 points here, because that's as much as the market's been willing to give us for counter trend trades. Once this trade gets up to 50 points, I got to start securing profits. I could look and say, oh, maybe we get a V-shaped recovery. We're down 2%. Has it happened? Yes. But is it going to be clear when it happens? The one thing we didn't get, coach, at this level was that volume exhaustion move. It was just consistent. Coincidence that we bounce here, coach? Who might be buying here at this down 2%?
Short covering, maybe an institution, but that if it was an institution, it would have much larger volume.
Correct.
But short covering, it could be the natural rotation of market makers and sellers. But I just want to come back to what you said. I wanted to risk 20 to make 50. Clarity. It was clarity.
Yep.
That was before you entered the trade. I'm like, here it is. This is what I'm looking for. And this is really important. And you said it again, and I want to reiterate this. No, I'm not looking for a V bottom. This was why I entered. This is where I'm going to exit. Remove the emotion of having to be right. It's a burden. When we talk about the principles of consistent winners, that is exactly it. And get that mindset every time you put on a trade. Don't come back and go, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. Now, the other side of that, right, is this, and I'd like to frame out your trades, right? We talked about having a playbook for your trades. Are your trades really just opportunities to get in the overall trend? This is a nice trade. Does taking this long cost me the short that was a much better trade? Remember, we talked about run plays and pass plays in football. This was a running play. It was a nice running play, right? You know,
Gain 4.
right. This was a 2nd and 10, coach, you know, hand the ball off, found a gap, got a first down, 15 yards. This was, you know, man coverage with the best receiver in the league, and he's wide open. Just throw it down the field, let him make a play, right? So again, I have to know where my trades fit in the overall context of the market. Where this was not that V shape. This setup for what it was giving me wasn't going to be that you know, Hail Mary, throw it down the field. Thomas, you said you had a similar analysis, but you were expecting it to make a reversal. There's no problem with you know, there's nothing wrong with expecting it to make a reversal, but when the market doesn't do what you expect, how do we respond? Right? Where, you know, maybe you had a 60-point profit target or an 80-point profit target. When the market is giving you some profits, right? If you got long from 590, you had at least 50 points. How do you manage this where you say, hey, you know what? I have to take something off the table. If you do, maybe you don't, and you're the type of trader that says, hey, profit target, stop loss, I'm good to go. What I would say in that, if that's the case, if you were looking for a larger profit target, maybe 100 points, maybe 150, measure out what these, when we start to trend, measure what these normal counter trend moves normally look like. For me, that 50-point profit target came from watching these markets all the time. And could it be 60? Could it be 75? 50 is usually safe enough where it's just like, hey, I can take something and then take it off the table.
Well,
All
we're
right.
making new lows as we speak
Are we
in the
seriously? Wow.
S&P and in the NASDAQ.
Wow.
NASDAQ is now down 607.
Yep. All right. Any other, I don't even have Discord up. Where's Discord? See if we got any questions. Thoughts on ES Delta rising the majority of the day, Delta closing at the high of the day. Let's take a look at the S&Ps. I don't have, Coach, I'm going to pull up a 30-minute chart on the S&P if you want to go through this real quick. I'm going to pull up Quant Tower to see what the Delta numbers were.
I have some Delta numbers. But,
Okay, cool.
Let's start from the first half hour of the open. Let's not go over last night. 1 second, I have to change it to ES.
I had Delta pretty negative on the day. I think at one point it stopped increasing. It stopped getting increasingly negative, but it never went positive from what I saw.
All right. So, that'll be interesting because everyone is going to be a little different in the fact that it's wherever your data starts, it can reflect in the summation. But from the opening, and then, oh, darn it, I'm going to have to put on my glasses. All right. From the opening, we had 76.
Sorry, real quick, right before you go through that, just quick explanation. For Sab, can you explain what Delta is? We're talking about the difference in volume, right? So if Coach says it's the difference between market buys and market sells, right? So for a quick example here, if I market buy 10 contracts, that's positive 10 Delta. If Coach Paul then market sells 2 contracts, the cumulative Delta is positive 8, right? My positive 10, his negative 2, positive 8. All right, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, that's to further clarify that what the coach has said. It's urgent trade, so it's hitting the bid or taking the offer, not a resting order. So the difference between that, think of it as an imbalance of buying versus selling. So the imbalance in the first half an hour, we had 76,828 contracts hitting the bid versus 73,837 taking the offer, which means we have an imbalance of selling of 3,000 contracts in the minis. Okay, that's a delta imbalance, negative imbalance for the first half an hour. So let's actually, So we have minus 3,000. First half an hour. All right, second half hour. We have 95,357 sellers, 84,713 buyers. Let's just round it off. We have minus 1,000. So now cumulative, we have minus 4,000 sellers, an imbalance. So as we went lower, think of it this way. As we went lower, we found more selling. Now, think about that. If we're, there's no, when we talk, there's no buying.
Yep.
So let's go to the third half an hour. We've got the first buying, 1,000. This is at 10 o'clock Central. We have 1,000 buying. Okay.
Coach, did you talk about the sorry, I might have missed it. Did you talk about the 9 a.m. 30-minute candle?
Yes. Oh, the
Okay.
9 a.m.?
9 a.m.
Yeah,
I'm
I
seeing
did.
negative 11,000. Okay.
Oh, you had a negative 11,000?
For 9 a.m., yeah.
9 a.m. Central?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then now and what was your source?
It's starting at the beginning of the day. So the first 30-minute candle was negative 2,900. The next one was negative 10,644. That was the big one for the day.
Minus 10,000?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, well, we got to investigate this further. Unless I'm adding it wrong. I had a minus 1,000 for a total of minus 4,000 for the day cumulative. This is off at CQG. All right. Well, we're both on the sell side. Now let's look at what happened to VWAP. VWAP started at 57.14. After the first half an hour, 55.95 on that increasing sell volume. And here's the thing, VWAP does not, through all that selling, what does VWAP do? It continues to tick lower. Now, actually, let's start with your data. Is this the NASDAQ or S&P?
This is the S&P. I'm going to bring up my Quantower chart, Coach. We normally just share Topstep X charts, but for this example, let's bring up Quantower. Let's take a look at it. Give me 1 second over here. Which one is the Samsung chart? Samsung camera. Okay. Again, full disclosure, chat, you're about to see a white chart. Get your sunglasses. All right, here we go. So what we're looking at when we talk about Delta, again, everyone we're executing on Topstep X. Everyone uses different platforms for their information. Hoag is using a different platform here for his TPO charts. Ideally, we get some of this information in Topstep X soon. I think it is available in TradingView charts as well. And yeah, I think I'm going light mode with everything, to be honest, Chad. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm going through like a midlife crisis where I'm changing all of my platforms to light mode. So here we go, right? Go ahead, Coach.
It's funny. I started with nothing but light mode, and now you're going the other way.
So what I will say is, since changing over to bright mode, my trading has gotten better. So I don't know if there's a correlation there. But so what we're looking at here with the Delta, right? On the bottom of my charts, you can see it here, these values that are above my head. The top number is the volume, right? So 180,000 contracts traded in this 30-minute period. The delta, which Coach Paul was just talking about, is the difference between market buys and market sells, right? So not all of the contracts that were traded in this candle were sell side or buy side, but there's a balance between them. That balance was negative. negative, in this case, on this 30-minute candle, negative 10,000 contracts. So this is extreme selling here, right? We don't see numbers that big. I'm going back for the week. We don't see negative 10,000 often, right? We can see all of these values that are popping up here. So what this is telling us is that sellers are not playing games, coach.
Yeah, this is liquidation.
Yep. 100%.
It's like, think of it's, we talked about this before. I'm going to go through it again. When there's liquidation, kind of, using the example, this isn't as extreme as that top in the copper though. They're not looking, if it gets up there, sell it.
Right.
It's, you need to sell $2 billion worth of X.
Right.
Okay, I'll sell you one. I'll sell you one. No, it's like, it's going to cause a large movement.
Yep. And for anyone asking, these are quant hour charts. And I'm using the volume analysis package. It is a, there's a paid package for it, but similar to how people use Bookmap, this is just giving me the same information that someone uses Bookmap with. I just like this because it's a very simple way to look at it.
It is. Does that give cumulative for the day?
Yeah, so cumulative is right on the bottom. So Courtney had asked the question, right, where Delta was increasing, right? It never really went positive until the close, but Delta was increasing for the day. So we can see it, right? Cumulative is right on the bottom here. We got 13. So we started the day negative 2980, negative 13,000, negative 12,000. And then it started going higher, right? Where this value we can see, right, for that 30-minute period, positive 843, positive 1428, positive 1249, right? So we are seeing positive, but price is continuing to go lower. Coach, we haven't done one of these in a while, man. I feel like we used to do this in Discord all the time.
Yeah, I miss it.
Coach, they are buying here, right? These 30-minute candles here. And, chat, we're going deep dive right now into volume analysis. We have, in this 30-minute candle, Coach, positive 1,400 contracts bought. Coach, what did they get for that?
Short covering.
Right.
That is the definition of short covering. Think of what they get for it. It went out the same price it went in.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So think of a dead cat bounce. Well, it's not even a bounce. It's like a splat. I mean it.
Right.
So really think about it now. There's some buying, and coach said so well. What was the effect of the buying?
They price did not go higher, right? And Claude just mentioned it in the chat. It says you do have to. Oh no, it was GDL. To clarify for chat, you have to look at that delta in context. It's extremely important, and I think that's the question you ask yourself. If you see delta going positive, but price going lower, the way I like to think about it is, okay, coach, we made the boxing analogy before. A boxer, if we're going, we have two boxers, buyers and sellers. Boxers landed more punches in this 30-minute candle. The buyer boxer landed 1,400 more punches, but were those punches effective in winning the fight? In this 30-minute candle, the sellers threw or landed 10,000 more punches, and they were extremely effective, right? This is a knockout round. The buyers it landed more punches here, but they were maybe a couple of jabs, a couple of glancing blows, right? Maybe you indecisively won the round. I guess we could give that one to you, but we don't forget that you just got knocked out 2 rounds ago, right? So yes, delta is going positive, but how effective is that delta at moving price? In this case, for buyers, it's not at all. And we continue to see price go lower. So it is all in context. It does all matter if you put the picture together, but how effective is that delta is an extremely important question to ask. Thomas, it's not the same delta that's used for options. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, it's not. I would. Wow. Yeah, all right.
My bad.
Answer. No, that was exactly what I was going to say. A great question. I didn't see it. I was going to say, don't get confused with delta and options. A delta in an option is the amount the option will move against the underlying, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to confuse you anymore.
Correct.
This is, I don't know why why it's called delta. It's the change of the volume. I call it the imbalance.
Yep.
Think of
That
it
makes
in
sense.
those terms. It's just much easier to go through it.
GDL asks, are there any plans to include more order flow type features on Topstep X? And let me bring back up the Topstep X charts. I think we've had these up for long enough. But I think there is. I think it's in the roadmap. I don't know dates on them, but yeah, just wanted to share that just so when you can get context for when you hear some of these things mentioned on Topstep TV. Maybe you're not using a platform that has that information, but you hear someone mention it on Topstep TV. That's kind of what we're looking at. All right. Any other thing on the equities, coach, or we want to move on?
Let's move on
Awesome.
to golden pastures.
Pew, pew, pew. All-time highs in gold.
Oh,
Got to go back to the extended trading hours, coach. Man, this market is just like I haven't placed many trades in it. I'm on a daily right now, coach. What are we looking at here on a daily?
well, as you say, pew pew pew, we're making new lows in the NASDAQ and the S&P. But this is all engines go. We've had liftoff. We're leaving the stratosphere. Just this market, look at that. It was a small range.
Yep. Range on the day was 24 points. ATR is 37.
Yeah, we had. I mean, just that looks like this could gap and go on Sunday. I get the feeling that like I said, something major is going on.
Yeah.
Seems to me that the war in Ukraine is not going to end. And Russia, just the way this gold is acting. Like I said, I'm getting this my gut that something major is going to happen this weekend. I'm not saying there is, but this kind of action is kind of panic action. Look at gold on a half of it from last night. This was the opposite of stocks. Well, no, we had some selling. I shouldn't say that, but let's look at the first half an hour.
I mean, if you were able to buy it last night.
That was the move.
Yeah.
So where was the buying coming from? Asia.
Yep.
And we usually don't see that. Well, yeah, we've been seeing buying coming out of Asia.
Right.
But right back to that opening range is that now? Well, we might have had that selling exhaustion. Matter of fact, I think we did.
This is it right here. Yep.
So let's see what time is that?
This is 10:30 Eastern, so 9:30. Let's go down to a shorter time frame because it definitely shows up there.
Well, it shows up here too.
It shows up here. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So go ahead, coach. Explain that one.
All right. Look at that volume, the middle finger. I mean, it's the largest, and it's out of the day. Now, gold and commodities are a little different than equities, is that they trade 24/7. They never close. Middle of the day, we have the largest volume, which was probably 3 times the average half-hour volume at that time. That little red line, if you can see on the volume, that's the average. So it's at least double the average. And it was also the largest of the day. It made new lows for the day. And this is how an exhaustion happens. Once it breaks the high of that candle, you buy it. This is on a half hour. We could do it on a shorter term. I'll hand it off to Coach.
Awesome. So on a shorter time frame, uh, it actually is way more defined, Coach, on that higher time frame. Way more defined because we sat in this range for a little while, but we can kind of see it here, right? These high volume candles here. Uh, you know, the problem here with this is it's not as clearly defined on a shorter time frame. Something like this, though, this is one here, right, where this is more clearly defined, where we had the spike and then volume died out. This just happened. This happened at a time where we weren't going to get continuation volume, right? We
Well,
saw decent volume trading around here, closed above the high, and then went from here. Go ahead, Coach.
interesting is the same level.
Right,
I
right.
mean, look at the other one before.
Yeah, right. This one here. Yeah,
So if we're reading from an objective, just reading it, and before we react, read and react. It's going to be the name of my book. Look, it's the big selling, the heaviest selling stops and
yep,
jumps, stops and rallies. We're in an uptrend. We're above the half hour, the 200 in the half hour. When I talk about taking one side, I only want to buy it. This is a place, this is a way to objectively look, when is the selling failing?
yep.
Every one of those, when you frame it out, after it breaks the high, you're going to get a one-to-one trade on risk reward basis.
We talked about yesterday only wanting to take these.
Here was another one. Look at the one. I'm pointing at you like you can see.
It's right there. Get him.
It's Friday. I need a Guinness.
Yeah.
But that big volume in between those.
This right here.
This right there. Did it? Nope.
No. Did
Well, actually, when it did,
when it closed above.
it
So Greg has a question here, right? Thanks, guys. Could you show how you would set up a trade based on that? Let's see, Greg. If we can get to 250 likes, we'll explain how we trade that. And I know there's some traders in the chat that could tell us exactly how they would trade it, because I know we have some traders that started taking these trades. Anything we say here is for educational purposes only. Shout out to anyone who's taking information and implementing it right away. From a video that you watched on YouTube from two guys named Jay and Paul, we appreciate you joining us as always. And if you can, do us a favor, hit that like button. You see, Kevin, you see what's up, man, right? Well, pay us in likes and we'll give you all the strategies that you need.
Wow. There you go. There's a trader in you.
Right? What'd you say, Coach? Bid offer size, right?
Bid offer size. Where are you going to move the size?
Right. All right. I feel bad doing that, so we're just going to explain it anyway.
I don't.
Okay. All right. Crude oil. Let's talk about crude oil, Coach, while we watch those likes go up. I'm going to go out to a 30-minute chart from here. Or actually, let's look at a daily in crude, Coach.
Yeah. Let's look at the weekly, too. New lows, S&P and NASDAQ with 10 seconds left. Yeah.
Wow.
Literally.
Markets.
All right. Daily. We talked about this yesterday. Got touched right near the 200. What else was that purple one?
Oh, the 50. I want to go back to the equities on that too, but that's the 50.
Okay. Now, how many days have we been here? 1, 2, 3 days. Let's start with the half-hour bar. We remember that level, which was right above yesterday's highs. Interesting. Look at VWAP from the beginning last night. It never left that opening range, so we never found buyers.
Yep.
That had any difference. But when the U.S. opened, New York opened on a price basis, tried to rally. Where is that New York? So, wow, it was different this time. Was it London that bought it? Well, because it was
Uh,
lower.
yeah.
Yeah, it was lower. Let's say interesting, and I keep forgetting to do this. Let's frame that out. The
The
London
London Open,
Open.
still at 3 a.m. Central. Here it is here. Man, urgency in
And
London, right?
boom, short covering, buying, value. You can call it what you want to. I call it buying.
Mm-hmm.
It's dynamic. It's buying versus selling. In this case, wow. If you were short, absolutely cover on that. But so London, we had buying and right back to what level? Underneath the 200, underneath the 50. It needs more, to break the downtrend on a longer term. We need to get the long term sellers out of there. We didn't. They came back. So let's see what happens in New York, New York.
Here is the session open in New York.
The first half an hour, or is that the 3 minute? And I
Yeah,
hand the
I
3 minute to you.
went down to a 3. Crude oil opens up at 9 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central. We do have that first 3 minutes, and again, we spent time in the range, right? The reason I like to bring this down to a 3 minute, coach, is because I know we have a lot of traders that trade in the 1, the 3, the 5 minute time frame,
Mhm.
um, and you're eager to get into a trade when the market opens up.
Yeah, it's so
But
true.
look at what we do. We spend a lot of time in this 3 minute range where, like Coach Paul wanted to go to the 30, where it's a lot cleaner. Go ahead, Coach. I'm handing it back to you.
Well, well, even then, if let's say we talk about adding, all right, let's say
Mhm.
the first 3 minutes, you sell one against the 3 minute. And you put in a stop above if it makes a new high. Just a simple stop, not a 2 ATR. If it makes a new high, I'm staying with it.
Yep.
So in the first 3 minutes, I sell one at close. Okay, now I give it time. I haven't gotten stopped out. I could have, but now when someone was talking about how do I add? Well, I'm short one. Now I can add another if it closes outside of that range and it's under VWAP. This actually happened today in the 5 minute in the S&P. So I sell another one. Now,
Yep.
what if I want 2 to 1? I could take that average and go, okay, what did I risk, reward? But reading the flow of the market. That's the river.
Yep.
And but now further we go to the half an hour. I mean, that gives it even more credence.
Yep.
Some people talk about getting a runner. Well, if you started in a 3 minute with one, add another in a unit, maybe it's a half a unit. What's a half a unit? Half of your regular what you want to put on, and that's a function of your equity and your balance in your account. But I mean, reading the flow and reacting. Remember, against the background of the daily, it's right up against the 200-day moving average, and we've talked about this ad infinitum, that this market just vacillates. Well, it's on the upper end of that vacillation.
Mm.
On top of that, what was going on in other markets? Well, they were getting hit.
Yep.
Um, Two things with that kind of volatility, you start seeing moves in other markets from margin or so. But do you need to know all of that, or
No.
do you need to read the flow?
Flow. Read the flow.
So wow, that was big, and it finished pretty ugly on the half hour. On the 200 moving average, we settled underneath. Um, and wow, we did not recover.
Yep.
Interesting too. We could have had a selling exhaustion. Look at that huge volume on that selling, but we did not close above that. Okay. Key close.
Yeah. So we didn't get to the exactly to 250. Maybe the bots are watching and they don't have like buttons at the bot farm. But we're at 107, so we appreciate it. It is a Friday. Greg asked, "How would you guys take this exhaustion trade?" So Coach just brought up a good point here, right? Where this from a volume perspective, if we hide the candles, right? From a volume perspective, this has the potential to be that exhaustion move, right? Where it's happening at the low of the day. But for the trade we're talking about, we need a close above this candle to take that reversal trade. You notice on the 30-minute, Coach Paul just said it. We never got a close above. Greg liked it twice, so we had to give away the sauce. Uh, we never closed above this, Greg. So if we're looking for a reversal, you can try to preempt one and take it somewhere down here. But we're not going to get a true reversal. Now Dakota starts looking at 3-bar reversals and things like that. We're basically looking for a however many bar reversal. It could be 3, it could be 5. Once this exhaustion high volume prints, and why are we calling it exhaustion, is happening at the low and it's the highest volume out of anything else that we've seen. Once this prints, we're looking for a candle close outside. And then what that's saying is this is confirmation that the market is done trading these prices. Um, so in this case, we never got a close outside. So it's not a long to take, especially not at these highs. If you got it somewhere lower, if we don't get a close outside, you might want to start thinking about position management. Let's go back to gold for an example. Gold we'll go down to a 3-minute chart because this is where we saw a couple more examples of it in gold. Look at the difference here in gold. Low of the move, high volume. We close outside of it. This is where I'm entering, and it almost doesn't even have to be a perfect entry because your risk is going to go on the other side. This is where sellers have shown you that this is the lowest point they're willing to continue to sell. So if I buy it above it with my stop below it, think about what we're asking. We're asking these sellers who made this price action to do something they were not able to do the last time, right? They met a buyer here. So my stop goes below that and we get a 2-to-1. Not even,
Uh,
go ahead.
yeah, believe we do. I know we got a 1-to-1.
So
Eventually, we get a 2-to-1.
yeah, but look at that stop placement, right? Even on a retest, market respects the volume. Stop placement is great. We get a 2-to-1 up here, right? So the
Yeah.
idea is when you see this exhaustion move, you can try to take a little early. I've seen some people say, "Oh, buy it at the 50%." You can do that, but confirmation of the move, where we actually get continuation, happens on a close outside. If you preempt this trade and take it earlier, and we don't get this close, you have to start thinking position management. We don't get the close outside, you have to start thinking position management, right? So there you go, Greg. Appreciate the likes, everyone. Uh, when you take those trades, we're looking for. I think we need to up the percentage, Coach. I used to say a half of a percent. I think we're looking for, you know, 3/4 of a percent now on any of the trades that get taken at the buzzer.
Yeah.
Three-quarters of a percent of your profits from the trades that you make now. Price is going up.
Price, and it's going to go up again tomorrow, just like tariffs.
Depends on how I feel Monday. That price might go up again. All right. Coach? We got a ton of questions in the chat. We got about 5 minutes left. Do we want to try to rapid fire through some of these?
Let's do it.
Okay.
It's a Friday rapid fire session.
There we go.
Tag that.
Jalen Dupree says, are their respective signals from Delta and VWAP usually congruent, or are they equally divergent as they are congruent? A smartly worded question. A great question. Jalen, they are congruent, right? If I see VWAP sloping downwards, especially in a trending market, VWAP sloping downwards and Delta increasingly negative, what that's telling me is stay in the trade, right? Stay in the trade as long as you can until that delta kind of flips. Um, the difference there would be uh, in a range bound market, right? In a range bound market, what you'll normally see is a flat view up and the delta at the lows of the move normally positive, delta at the highs of the move normally negative, right? So uh, if in a trending market, they are giving you the same signal in most cases. Uh, we got to
Next,
Greg's question: can we trade it? Are equities down far enough from all-time highs to consider it a bear market?
that's a good question too. What is a
What's that
bear
percentage?
market? 20%.
At
We're not
15.
there.
We're at 14 half.
Yeah. By the way, bear market is when your stock is getting crushed. It's like there's an old saying too about the difference between a recession and a depression. A recession is when your neighbor loses his or her job. A depression is when you lose your job. So, I mean, what is a bear market? The official CMT definition is 20%. But
We're
if I
at
bought this
15.
at Christmas, I'm feeling very bearish.
Yeah, same. Um, back to that delta and view up point. Courtney said in the chat they can run opposite, and sometimes we do see that. Sometimes you do see what's called a delta divergence, right, where price is moving higher, delta's going lower, or price is moving lower, delta's going positive. Um,
That's a
there,
powerful,
there are
powerful thing.
yeah, there are trade signals that come from that. That is volume. That's the volume PhD class. But sometimes you do get those adverse signals. All right. Where are you placing your fib levels at the order block? So, Marcia, for my fib levels, I'm only using the 0, 100%, and 50%, and I'm anchoring it to high volume, right? So if I see a high volume spike like this, I'm going to anchor it there. Same thing with something like this. And I'm just looking for where 50% of that volume is and then how the market responds around those levels. Uh, what are your best tips and tricks for avoiding non-trend days, Coach Paul?
My best trick is to cut off my losses. What do I mean by that? I'm not good at non-trend days or reversion to the mean. So I look at the opening. Let's say I look at a 5-minute opening and try to go with the flow. If it's going to be a trend day, I'm going to get 2 to 1, 3 to 1 off of that. If it's not, I'm probably going to lose a little money, maybe make a little money. But what I can't, there is no way when you put it in to say, wow, this is going to be a non-trend day.
Right.
But as you get more information, you can start making the assumption or finding evidence that it is. And then I stop trading. If, but if even then, if I have a cutoff of 12% of my capital, that's because the way I trade is if it's a non-trend day, I'm going to probably lose well. But there is, if look, we don't have a market profile that I could go through. There's ways, market profile is really good for that. When we do have market profile, I would gladly go over ways of doing that with market profile. How about you, Coach?
If VWAP is flat, it's a trend day. So if you see flat VWAP, stay out if you don't like trend days. Sorry, if you don't like range days. For example, here, this is the middle of the day, right? Where we clearly we had a trend throughout the day, right? But during lunchtime, we know that low volume kind of session. If I anchor a VWAP to this high volume from here and look at that range, you see how that VWAP never leaves that range? a day like this is where if you see VWAP flat like that, for me, I'm saying if I'm going to trade, it has to be a range bound trade. Identify the extremes, wide stops, smaller size, and see if we can get to the other side for small trades. So if that VWAP is flat, that's for me the best way I've identified in as quickly as I can how to identify a non-trending market. Um,
What else? Oh, really important. NCAA picks. The Bullet Traders has the Gators. Pretty good team.
yeah.
Yeah, but I've got the Spartans. How about you, Coach?
Uh, I'm going. I hate to do it, but I'm going with Duke.
Spoken like a New Yorker.
I hate to do it, but I'm going with Duke. uh, they just kind of look unbeatable. And South Carolina women, yeah, they're taking it
Yeah.
all. Kevin, and for that one, Kevin, I think shout out to all the traders that are in the Coach J chat. They understand this one. They asked for it. So Kevin, ball.
Speaking by the way, speaking of basketball, how about those Chicago Bulls? Did anybody see that ending last night against the beloved Lakers and LeBron? LeBron looked like he might need to retire. Just take a look at the last minute. It was one for the ages. Go
All right.
Bulls.
Thanks, chat. We're gonna go ahead and end the stream there. I want to thank everyone for joining. Uh, retire, Coach. He's the greatest player of all time. So here's the thing, right? There's a lot of talk about he's not the GOAT and all this other stuff. Who do we watch next? Who is next in
Yeah, there you
line
go.
to be that, right? So appreciate the greatness while he's there. You know,
It's a great. That
gonna
is
be
a
sad
great way
when
to do it.
it's gonna be sad when he retires, man. I'm not looking forward to it.
You put it right. I have this. The GOAT. You can only be the greatest player of your era.
Yeah,
You can't be like. I mean, you can't compare it because you don't have. It's just like trading. It's here and now. Yeah, greatest of the zero. I don't believe in the greatest of all time because it's a very subjective term. But I had to throw that because Bulls sucked for so long that they finally had an exciting game. Um, but watch the last minute. It was incredible
I got to take a
game.
look at that. Someone had asked to go over silver real quick. I'll do it real fast. I mean, we're at time. We're above time. We're going overtime here. Uh, silver looks a lot like gold. Let's look at it daily really quick. Just doing a quick rapid fire through this. We're coming up to some levels which have been higher time frame resistance going back to 2024. Uh, the rest of the metals feel like they have a harder time breaking out of ranges than gold does, right? Gold finds a level, maybe bases for a little bit and breaks through it. Look at platinum, look at silver, copper, made a new all-time high recently. But these look, not as convincing to the upside. So if I was trading this on a higher time frame, I'd probably be shorting silver here. But you're laughing at something.
Someone said I'm the greatest in my own mind.
I mean,
And I got to end with that.
if you don't believe it, who will?
Beware of the price you put upon yourself, because you can be assured that no one else will raise it. So I'm going to leave it with that.
That's a bar. I got nothing else to say. Trade well, manage your risk. Wait, it's Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Boomer Bryant had asked as the first question in the chat, what are we drinking this weekend? Coach, what are you drinking this week?
I'm drinking Guinness.
There you go.
And you're drinking, sir?
Sunday, probably some red wine. We'll see. Might pick up a bottle. But tomorrow, going to a birthday party, friend's birthday party, hanging out. Probably won't drink then. Getting nice. Weather's getting nice. So enjoy some time outside, everyone. If you have to review what you did on the charts this week, spend an hour or two, and we'll get back to it next week. Coach, thank you. Andrew, thank you as always for hanging out, giving us the questions, helping us run this show. Hit that thumbs up
Yeah.
button if you haven't done so
Thank
already. Bots, if you want to update your firmware to hit the like button as well, we would appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Take care. Have a
Bye.
good weekend.